This video is sponsored by Squarespace. On May 1st, 1999, Nickelodeon released the very first episode of arguably the most popular animated series of all time, SpongeBob SquarePants. But does it being popular mean it's actually even good? Listen, obviously SpongeBob has had its fair share of bangers over the years. I'm pretty sure Band Geeks might be the most infamous cartoon episode of all time, period. But SpongeBob's also produced some notably horrendous stinkers. And when I say stinkers, I mean this stuff is really bad. Like, grab your C4 and blow it up immediately. Ain't nobody trying to watch this. The thing is, every TV show has to have a worst episode at one point or another. So today, I'll be taking a look at two of SpongeBob's most notoriously horrible episodes to see if they're actually as bad as people say they are. These episodes were chosen based on your comments. A lot of people complained about these ones specifically. Surely they can't be as bad as the other 6 episodes you guys made me watch already. I'll be explaining everything that happens in these bad episodes in depth, while also giving the opinion of a master SpongeBob connoisseur like myself. And by that I mean I used to watch this show all the time as a child. But are these episodes really as bad as people say they are? Do you think these episodes completely destroy SpongeBob's reputation? Well, grab your copy of Mario Hoops for the Nintendo DS to find out, because it's time to watch what some people call a failing effort, the episode that destroyed SpongeBob. This first episode is called Yours, Mine, and Mine. A very silly name for a very silly episode. Our adventure begins with Patrick at the Krusty Krab, struggling to pick something to eat. I'm pretty sure the only item I've ever seen anyone eat here is a Krabby Patty, so I'm glad we're establishing early on that Patrick is an idiot. Squidward's pretty annoyed already. He doesn't really want to be there. Talking to Patrick is kind of like talking to those dogs that use buttons to communicate. It's basically the same thing over and over again.
You eat a treat for it! Oh, no.
Anyway, SpongeBob recommends that Patrick gets the Krabby Kitty meal because it's actually 30% cuter, but only costs $1 more. This is prime Mr. Krabs marketing here, by the way. Patrick picks the kitty meal, but when it's time to pay for it, turns out Patrick literally has $0. Oh my god, who saw that coming? The dude who just chills at home all day and watches live streams has no money. Squidward does not care at all. He's got to be the best character in the entire show. He just wants to go home here. It's so relatable. So because SpongeBob is an actual good friend, he offers to split the price with Patrick, and then the two can share the meal together. It sounds like a good idea, but because Patrick only has a bunch of garbage in his pocket, SpongeBob pays for it all. Very unfortunate. It probably took SpongeBob 2 days to save up that much money. Not only that, but when it's time to share the meal, Patrick straight up eats it all right away. He's not thinking about SpongeBob at all here.
Are you gonna save some of that for me?
What?
Nothing.
This is when Patrick gets really mad because his meal didn't come with a toy. We've all been there. These emotions are very real. He explains that he wants a full refund with his meal because there's no toy that came with it, despite, I don't know, Patrick not even paying for the food in the first place. Anyway, the mention of a refund triggers Mr. Krabs, who's having a very romantic moment with his money in a completely different room. So Mr. Krabs comes out and sees the opportunity to make a quick buck by asking Patrick if he would like to upgrade to the toy package. Very elusive, very high-tech. Patrick says yes, but the Krusty Krab actually doesn't have any toys, obviously. So what Mr. Krabs does next is actually kind of insane, not gonna lie. Mr. Krabs grabs someone else's full-sized Krabby Patty, rearranges the pickles and the ketchup somehow, adds a straw here and there, and
An official Krusty Krab licensed toy?
SpongeBob basically falls in love with this thing, so he gives Mr. Krabs $3 for it. Mr. Krabs gets all excited. He runs to his office, presumably to jump back in his tub full of money and have some really good alone time, if you know what I mean. SpongeBob is now having a lot of fun with his new toy, the Patty Pal, is what he's calling it. The two are dancing together. They're basically a Farrah Mercy duo on Overwatch. The two are inseparable.
Excuse me, what the actual
This is when Patrick comes in and reminds SpongeBob that Bikini Bottom is in fact a communist country.
My new toy?
Don't you mean our new toy?
No, but seriously, Patrick thinks that the two should share the toy because according to him, the two split on the price of the original meal they bought, even though they like definitely didn't. It was all SpongeBob, but whatever. We get a cursed moment where Patrick wears SpongeBob's face for a bit. It's very scary. Don't worry about it. SpongeBob, in an effort to be a good friend, reluctantly shares his new toy with Patrick. SpongeBob's the GOAT, honestly. I will hear no SpongeBob slander in the comments. I'm gonna be honest, this dude is better than me. I would have told that starfish to commit die, Roblox style. And this is the entire premise of this episode, by the way. SpongeBob and Patrick are essentially parenting this new toy Krabby Patty. They're supposed to be sharing, but Patrick is hogging all of the fun time. SpongeBob can't seem to get it back. And if you think Patrick's being bad so far, you have no idea just how evil this dude really gets. Like, he's the reason this episode is so bad. I can't even explain to you how annoying this guy is. You know what else is really annoying? trying to build a website, but not knowing how. Thankfully, if you're a person who wants to build their own website, blog, or online store, today's sponsor, Squarespace, is exactly what you're looking for. Squarespace is an easy-to-use website platform for creatives that offer a range of capabilities, including online stores, blogs, email campaigns, gated member areas, and more. With Squarespace, you can grow your credibility and engage visitors with an unrivaled suite of visual design effects built right into any Squarespace website. They have so many options and creative tools, you can basically do whatever you want. Also with Squarespace, you can explore design intelligence, combining 20 years of design expertise with Squarespace's Blueprint AI. It helps you craft a stunning personalized website that shows off your own unique style and builds a recognizable online identity. And thanks to Squarespace Payments, it's extremely easy to sell access to your content and manage all of your payments all in one place. Seriously, if you ever want to build a website, this is the best option. So visit squarespace.com to start your free trial. And then when you're ready to launch, head over to squarespace.com/Darzii to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. Back to the video. Anyway, it's nighttime now, and Patrick still isn't letting SpongeBob play with the Patty Pal. Go figure.
Night, night, Patty Pal.
No touchy!
Why is Patrick so mean in this? SpongeBob has always been there for you, and then over a burger, you just like decide to switch up? That's crazy, dude. Patrick holds on to the toy for the rest of the night. SpongeBob is all depressed because he hasn't gotten his turn with it yet, even though he like paid for it all and everything. Thankfully, SpongeBob figures this isn't too bad, actually. Since it's just one night, you know, Patrick will give it to him the next day, surely. SpongeBob figures he'll be able to play with the Patty Pal tomorrow. Hey, let's check in on Patrick real quick. I'm not kidding, we get a solid 20 seconds straight of Patrick dancing with this Krabby Patty. You honestly can't make this up. Anyway, it's now the morning and SpongeBob is all excited. It reminds me when kids used to queue into Ninja on Fortnite back in 2020.
Ninja, a big fan of you!
Gary tries to tell SpongeBob that Patrick won't share with him, but he gets ignored. Gary's the goat, don't ignore him ever again. SpongeBob makes his way to Patrick's house and turns out the dude is still partying. What was in that kiddie meal earlier? Dude stayed up all night for this. When SpongeBob knocks, Patrick pretends to not be home. I guess because he doesn't want to share the toy after all. Very clever. SpongeBob tries to out Big Brain, the pink dumb guy, by just waiting for him to come out. This works almost right away. SpongeBob catches him red-handed with the toy. There's this random moment where Patrick shows his perfectly groomed armpit hair. If this wasn't so weird, I'd actually be very impressed. Anyway, the time has finally come. SpongeBob is officially out of patience, so he decides to take matters into his own hands. He grabs Patrick and demands the toy, but Patrick throws a fit and acts like a child. The ultimate defense. Listen, I know Patrick's character has always been super dumb and annoying, but this time it just feels kinda different. Usually him being really stupid is the joke itself, but this time he's being so dumb that even SpongeBob is getting angry at him. And when SpongeBob has a bad time, everyone has a bad time. It's just not fun to watch, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of frustrating, in my opinion. Like, just give the dude his toy. He paid for it, you know? Give it to him.
5 minutes. 1 minute.
I swear, Patrick is so stubborn, dude. I'm so dead ass here. 100%. Just get another one at this point. It's not worth it. Eventually, Patrick grabs the Patty Pal and runs away. The two end up in Squidward's house because, of course, they have to bother this guy on his day off. The funny part is actually that he's seen SpongeBob and Patrick do stupid things so many times before that he just doesn't care anymore. The two are fighting it out to the death and Squidward's just chilling, drinking his coffee. The two then land in Sandy's home. Turns out she's the most reasonable person in Bikini Bottom. She sits the two boys down and explains that a healthy compromise involves an open communication. Resolving conflict isn't always easy, but with the proper steps, SpongeBob and Patrick can eventually get there. They just have to work together. Oh, what's that? They already left? All right, never mind. The two get bored of Sandy spitting facts because they both have a TikTok brain. They continue fighting all the way to the Krusty Krab, which is when Patrick finally snaps and has his Joker moment. He says that if he can't have the Patty Pal, no one can, and just simply eats it. How evil. Why would you do that? SpongeBob paid for that and everything. Patrick is such an ass in this. Despite SpongeBob being 100% in the right here, everyone still treats this situation like Patrick has any leverage at all for some reason. Mr. Krabs shows up and sees SpongeBob being sad, which is when he offers both of them a brand new Patty Pal at the very, very low cost of only $13.50 each. How is this guy not a billionaire yet, by the way? Bro's been scamming everyone since forever. The two get very excited, and Patrick even says that he'll pay for both of them this time, which you think would be like the ultimate redemption for this character at the end of this episode, but no, because Patrick grabs SpongeBob's wallet and the episode just ends. Very funny, Patrick. I hate you with all of my guts. And that was the second most hated SpongeBob episode, at least according to my comments. I totally understand why, too. SpongeBob does everything for Patrick here and is super reasonable the entire time. If Patrick is super mean to SpongeBob and purposely acts ignorant to everything, and don't get me wrong, TV shows like this are allowed to be a little stupid. That's kind of their thing. But when an entire episode is about being purposely mean to your only friend, I don't know. It just doesn't make for good TV. It's weird. I thought. But more about that episode later, because it's now time to watch the episode most people hate the most. Because according to you guys, this is the episode that destroyed SpongeBob. This episode that everyone hates so much is called The Nitwitting. This episode released in season 12, which came out in 2018. Already, this explains a lot. I won't lie. Our story begins at our local bargain mart with SpongeBob and Patrick yet again causing havoc in public. I'll be completely honest, I'm not even sure what they're trying to do here. This is very confusing. We're 15 seconds into this, and SpongeBob's already getting tortured. I can't do this, man. It's explained that Patrick made SpongeBob wear a blindfold to avoid getting stuff in his eyes. I'm only really explaining that because Patrick then gives us one of those gross close-ups. It's one of those shots that these later seasons love spamming so much for some reason. It's very gross. I wanted to show it. Anyway, turns out Patrick is at this secret club meeting, which gets SpongeBob very curious. This secret club is called the Empty Head Society. I'm not kidding. This entire thing is just a bunch of idiots being idiots. Surely this will be a very interesting episode. SpongeBob joins the club and is fascinated by all the dumb people inside. They do this weird thing in this club where almost everyone in it is like this southerner character for some reason. I remember them doing a dumb Texan thing earlier in the show, like a couple seasons back or whatever, but this is still kind of weird. Like, what's with the hate towards southerners? That's weird. Okay.
Mustard or ketchup?
Anyway, upon entering this club, it's important that you drop your brain off at the entrance for safekeeping. It is the Empty Head Club, after all. This must be where all my teammates hang out right before we play a competitive match on Counter-Strike. SpongeBob and Patrick give their brains up and don't really act any different, to be honest, which is kind of funny. I'll give it that, I guess. Patrick meets up with a regular at the club, and they do the special empty head handshake. Really going all in on Patrick being an absolute idiot today, aren't we? Goddamn. So the meeting is officially about to start because I guess this thing is somewhat organized somehow. The leader of the club has a small guy in his belly button. The small guy starts reading off an upside down cereal box. He then gets kicked off the stage like a football. I'm just explaining everything that happens here so you can actually understand how goofy this episode is. This is when the leader asks if there's anyone new here tonight. And of course, SpongeBob is pretty new since he just joined. So SpongeBob heads on stage, which is when we get arguably the worst scene in any SpongeBob episode ever. Seriously, this is up there with the toenail scene, in my opinion. This is like really, really bad. I don't like this. The leader exclaims that it's time to pass the jar. One by one, every member of the club takes their turn putting a bunch of spit into a glass jar. Eventually, the jar makes its way to SpongeBob, which is when we get this scene. Oh, this is so bad. I hate this. Don't drink it. No! Oh, I don't usually care for these scenes, but I swear I felt that in my mouth. That's right, SpongeBob drinks the jar full of other people's mixed saliva. And you want to know what the worst part is? He didn't even actually have to drink it at all. Everyone gets disgusted after he does it. Turns out this wasn't some weird initiation thing like you probably thought it was. The Empty Head Society just collects their spit every day as a tradition. For some reason, SpongeBob thought he had to drink it, so I don't know, he did. It was very gross. Why would you ever write this into a show? It's so weird. All the previous spit jars are labeled today, which I think is actually kind of funny. I'll clap for that one. The leader gives SpongeBob 2 badges for being so dumb. One is a piece of bacon, and the other is his chewed up gum. With how stupid everyone is here, I'm surprised no one's rushing to the stage to eat the badges or something. This is when we get to the main point of the episode, when the leader mentions that it's time for everyone in the club to do their civic duty. Everyone here has a loaf of bread for a brain. I can't imagine this will go very well. Everyone sings the official Empty Head Society song, which isn't fun to listen to at all, and sounds like those TikTok beats with a bunch of cartoon sound effects.
2, 3, let's go.
The lyrics to the song itself is just calling everyone dumb, which I get is the point of the song, but also it's just boring and difficult to understand, like you can't really tell what they're saying. Compared to something like the Goofy Goober song, which is so memorable and exciting, it's just night and day, is what I'm saying. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, it's time for their civic duty, which in this case just means causing a bunch of trouble in town. It reminds me of that time people stormed the Capitol building, but if everyone there was really dumb and had nothing else to do. Wait a minute. So everyone here vandalizes the town. They screw with people's bowling games. They ruin people's workouts. They even cause major traffic accidents, which is kind of insane, actually. Like, arrest these guys immediately, please. People could have died here. Later, with SpongeBob and Patrick specifically, we see them hitting parking meters and replacing them with soup. Nothing in this episode makes any sense at all, by the way. SpongeBob seems to be the only one that thinks this is wrong and weird. It's actually nice that he's on the good side, unlike everyone else. Although he did give his brain away like everyone else at the very beginning, so although I admire his attitude here, it kind of makes zero sense why he'd care. Anyway, eventually SpongeBob gets left alone and seems to be lost. I'm quickly realizing this episode doesn't have a coherent plot. In an effort to remember where he is, SpongeBob waters his brain in hopes that it grows back. Of course, it catches fire, which makes SpongeBob become 101% idiot. You can tell this because of his goofy looking face. SpongeBob thinks that if he walks backwards, he'll find out where he came from, which is kind of funny, I guess. SpongeBob is so charming. I'm almost enjoying this, but he's so stupid. There's not even a story here. While he's walking backwards, by the way, SpongeBob talks in reverse here. Of course, I thought that'd be some kind of clever dialogue where if you play the clip in reverse, you can like understand what he's saying and it's funny or something. But after reversing the clip, I'm gonna be honest, I think it might just be gibberish. I don't know. If you can understand anything here, please let me know. I can't tell what he's saying at all. In true Genshin Impact player fashion, SpongeBob gets rejected by society and gets hit by a lady's purse. Later that day, he's walking around all alone in an alley. He forgot how to sit down, which is weird because he remembers how to walk, talk, breathe, and like every other thing that people don't usually need to think about. But then, the one time I actually enjoyed seeing Patrick is when he randomly shows up here in this alley with SpongeBob's brain. After going through a couple incorrect brains and shaking him for a bit, SpongeBob finally returns back to normal. So now, instead of being super stupid, he's just regularly stupid. Glad to have you back, buddy. SpongeBob immediately goes to clean up the whole mess everyone from the Empty Head Society left, but when he checks it out, turns out everything is already clean. This is when he runs into Sandy because yet again, she's the most responsible person in Bikini Bottom. I apologize, Sandy. I wasn't familiar with your game. Turns out Sandy is part of a club called FEMA, which is a whole club that just cleans up the mess that the idiots make constantly. Also, she's labeled as a karate cleaner, which is funny. Like, why are those words together at all? It's so random. Like, what? This is when SpongeBob eats the badges he was given earlier because getting his brain back meant nothing. The Empty Head Society ruin town one more time. They sing their famous song, which will actually make your ears bleed. And finally, Patrick breaks your screen with his face. And that was the episode that destroyed SpongeBob. Apparently. Was it really that bad? I know a lot of people rag on SpongeBob nowadays for being awful, but let's be honest with ourselves, these two episodes today were especially bad. Patrick straight up being a to SpongeBob was annoying in the first episode, and in the second episode, nothing really happened at all. Everyone was just really stupid, and that was it. I guess. There was kind of a story at the end when SpongeBob tried to find his way home, but that's literally the last 2 minutes of the episode and barely mattered at all. This thing was pretty much an excuse for the animators to create some wacky faces, although I'll never forgive them for making that spit scene. I hate you. This was gross. I think I've said this before, but these episodes felt like when you have an assignment due the next day, so you just chat GPT everything. That's what these episodes were. A string of ideas that loosely connect and can barely be called a full episode. It's bad, it's gross, and according to some people online, it completely destroyed SpongeBob. I watched a bunch of other bad SpongeBob episodes before. If your most hated episode wasn't on here, it's probably in one of these videos. Go check them out if you care. You can support the channel and become a member for only a single $1. Every member gets their name at the end of all my videos here. Thank you so much to all my current members. It's been a very busy couple months, but I'll be posting some members exclusive content soon, probably. Thank you so much for sticking around and supporting me. Like the video if you can. It helps the video and me a bunch. Paula Abdul scores this one a solid empty head out of 5. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Are you gonna save some of that for me?
What?